25 years ago on this glorious day, the greatest television show of all time premiered. I am biased, I don't care, but it's true. Third Watch premiered on the 23rd of September 1999. And 5 years ago on this podcast, we celebrated that occasion with the 20th anniversary reunion episode. We're doing it again today, 25 years, bringing together a bunch of the cast and crew to celebrate the show that people need to talk about more because, as I said, it is the greatest of all time. And I am so excited to be staring at a bunch of beautiful people right now to share their memories. And we're going to be joined by some other great people across this episode as well to do that too. I'm going to start with two people, first of all, who weren't on our 20th episode and who have actually never had on this show before. So they're making their Oz Network debut. And I'm so excited to learn from both of them about their times on the show. First of all, she was in the very first season and the second season. Across 7 episodes, she played Bosco's girlfriend, Nicole, where Bosco's first and really only long-term girlfriend. It depends on how you classify Sergeant Cruz, I guess. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Oz Network, Nahanni Johnstone. Nahanni, first of all, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
You. Are you in Australia, really?
I am. Yes, I am very much in Australia. What did it give away the accent, or do I have kangaroos bouncing in the background or anything?
Well, here. There we go. In LA or something, but yeah, I spent some time in Australia. I had a little boy in Perth, but I brought him back with me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Legally, I hope. I hope it wasn't just, we don't need to get the government involved in this. Okay, good.
I met him.
Right.
He was mine.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. We have a pretty bleak history in this country about stealing children, but we won't get into that. Joining us also for the very first time on the show, appeared in the first and second seasons where she played Doc's fiance, and definitely... I'm kind of glad Michael's not on the show right now because, not being too kind to his character. Not very great way of ending. Poor Morales. I just say that. Hashtag justice for Morales. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Lisa Vidal. Lisa, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Oh, my God. This is so special. I have such love in my heart for everybody that was a part of this show. It was one of the most magical times of my career, one of the best characters I played. I had the best time, and I was sad when Doc and Morales broke up. It was heartbreaking, but I'll never forget Third Watch. I feel like it was before its time, and I think it needs to be revamped, quite frankly.
Yes.
Right on.
Completely agree. And we're not over how Doc treated Morales. I mean, it's Philadelphia. It's like 2 hours down the road. Why can't you commute, man? We've been over this so many times on this show, Doc. What are you doing? I'm going to get to everybody else in the show, but I'm also going to quickly add in right now a couple of people because they're similar to Lisa at the beginning of this, going to be sort of dropping in and out sort of just at the beginning. But I'm going to pop in right now, and I see he's connecting. And there they are. Played Nahanni Ruivivar, of course, played Carlos Nieto across all 6 seasons, and Yvonne Jung Ruivivar, who played Holly Lynn, and Skipp's doing like light shows at the top there. Yvonne and Anthony, first of all, welcome back.
What's up?
Thank you.
What's up?
So great to see you guys. And you're right now, you're in a car because you guys you're moving your Olympian daughter, Levi, college today. So congratulations, first of all, for Levi and college.
Hi.
So cool.
Hi, guys.
Oh my God! Hi.
This is so great having this reunion, having everybody being able to catch up. People are listening to this in audio. Watch this on YouTube right now because you're seeing great reactions and everything with everybody sort of seeing each other. How long has it been, Anthony, Yvonne, how long has it been since you guys have seen Lisa? Just right now. When was the last time you would have seen each other?
Oh, I remember we saw each other in Burbank. I think we were at some bar. Right? With more activity.
No. And yes. You guys used to throw all these great parties that I would go to. Remember?
Yeah. Maybe we saw you at our Christmas party or down in the warehouse. Maybe that was the last time, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Colby said yes.
Kobe, we had some kind of little reunion there. Remember at one of your guys' spaces, we had like a little
at your studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
My loves.
This is great. I'm loving
Steady
loving these
cam guy.
reactions. Well, I'll introduce the others just now here too, because obviously we'll just we'll chat with Lisa and Anthony and Yvonne just here, because obviously they've got to head off in just a second. But just quickly going around the room, we have one of the co-creators of the show. I introduced him first in the last reunion, getting him in the middle right now because he's kind of like keeping this all together right now, because given that he sort of created all these guys, helping be able to come together in a third watch. Ed Allen Bernero. Ed, first of all, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Eddie.
Thanks, Ben.
Right on, Eddie.
It's so great to see your face and be able to celebrate a show that you helped create. Another behind-the-scenes legend of this show, producer, director extraordinaire, and the only man wearing a really cool hat right now, Guy Norman B. Guy, welcome back to the Oz Network. It's a pleasure to have you.
Cool, thanks, Ben. This is always a hoot, and thank you for including me. This is great. Thank you.
I had to have you on here, my friend. We couldn't have this without you, of course, on there. And two of the big stars, the big dogs on this show across all 6 seasons, 5 Charlie themselves. First of all, I said it in the reunion 5 years ago. The guy who was in most episodes of this show, Coby Bell, played Tyrone Davis Jr. across 6 seasons. Coby, first of all, welcome back to the Oz Network.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure to have you. Skipp Sudduth, a.k.a. John Sully Sullivan. Skip, welcome back.
Yeah, don't step away from the car, sir.
Oh, he's got the badge. Uh-oh. I feel like it's all getting kept in order right now. And joining us, playing, do I say playing yourself, Bill, across the 6? I mean, you technically did in that first season, right? Weren't you like John or somebody else in that first season? Bill Walsh is back. Bill, welcome back.
Billy.
So great. We've got all the departments covered here now. We've got the firefighters, we've got the cops, we've got the paramedics, we've got the doctors, we've got the girlfriends, we've got the directors, and we've got the writers. So how about I'm going to introduce one more person, because this is a bit of a reunion who I'm very, very excited to do this. Let's bring in a wife, shall we, of one of the characters right now. I'm gonna add her in because this is the first time she's also appeared on this show as well. And I'm so excited to have this sort of reunion going on here. Played Tatiana, a.k.a. Sully's wife, across 4 seasons. And we're going to have Savannah Sanfield coming in right now. She's just connecting. I'm very excited for this reunion because you thought she got shot. You thought Roy Scheider killed her. But she is. She's connecting. Maybe she really is still, and it's just sort of coming through. But we'll get that there. I just want to quickly to Lisa, to Anthony, and Yvonne. Lisa, first of all, to you, you were sort of touching on how it was sort of one of your favorite experiences and everything along those lines. Just can you take us through what it was like when you sort of got cast in this show and sort of been sticking around a little bit, and any sort of other sort of brief memories that you can share across your 1.5 seasons that you were on the show?
Yeah. One of the funniest things was I kind of felt like I was thrown into the role, and it was cold as hell in New York City. And my first scene was outside in the bay, and we were bringing in some kind of patient, and I had all these crazy ass medical lines. And that was my first day, and I was dying. I was sweating profusely, and it was Felix Alcala that was directing. And I was so grateful because I had worked with Felix a few times before. So I was like, oh, thank God, Felix is going to be kind to me. And I was just praying that everybody in the cast would be cool if I screwed up a word. And everybody just was so amazing and made me feel right at home. And honestly, like at one point I was flying almost, it felt like every week, from LA to New York. Wow. To shoot. And, sometimes we would be freezing our butts off, but having the absolute best time of our lives because we were just all like so connected and loved the show and the characters we were playing.
Love to hear that.
That to me was like the funny part. And then, of course, one time Mike Beach and I had a love scene to do, and I was wearing this teeny little 2-piece thing, and he was starving himself so he would look good on camera. and everything was all quiet and shit. And then his stomach starts growling and grumbling, and I was like, and we're like kissing.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is that? He was like, oh baby, I'm sorry. Okay. I was hungry. I'm so hungry. I was like, dude, you could have had a carrot or something.
Wow.
It's really.
I think that may have been his inner animal that was growling. He has an animal energy.
I think I know he was
about it.
angry that you left the show, so that's kind of like that shows how much he was enjoying those scenes together, basically. So
A lot of us were angry.
yes. But before we get back to you, Lisa, I just want to. Savannah's here now. Hello, Savannah. Welcome to the show. Not being rude, ignoring you there, but welcome back. So everybody's here, so excited to be able to see you and to reunite you with Skipp, husband and wife, back together.
So great to see you. You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you. You as well. Wow, and you're basically all I remember from Third Watch is you.
That's a good thing, right? I'd hope you remember him. Fantastic. Savannah, we'll come back to you in just a moment. We're just speaking to Lisa and Anthony and Yvonne here right now because they're about to head off. I want to ask you quickly though, Lisa. I know we sort of touched with Ed about this and sort of what happened with the Morales character and everything getting written out. Do you remember why you were written out? Like, did you fight for this? Did you want to stick around? Because like you and Doc,
I'm going to be honest. You know, my manager and agent called the powers that be and was like, listen, Lisa's up for a show. She's testing and we think she's going to get it. And then I got the show and they kept saying, do you want to make Lisa a series regular? And we never got the green light. And then they didn't think my show was going to get picked up, and then it did.
Ah, damn.
And so they had to figure out how to write me out. And it was the sweetest thing because they were like, we built this whole hospital set for you. And I was like, well, you should have prepared better, people, because I got to show. Somebody else hired me as a series regular. And that's what it was. Honestly, I didn't want to leave the show. I really didn't. I loved being on the show and playing the character that I did and loved everybody. Love Ed, loved everybody. So
we liked hearing that.
That was the story. That's the truth. That's the truth.
That's good. That's what we want, the truth.
The biggest mistake we ever made.
Damn. Oh.
And we tried some of us tried not to.
There you go. All this reveal 25 years later. We like that. Would have been very different.
Judicious.
Could have been very different for Morales because, of course, at the beginning, Carlos and Doc were fighting over Morales at the beginning. So I want to quickly ask.
Oh my God, it was so cute. Yes, they were fighting over Morales, and secretly, Bobby Cannavale was like, "Yo, I'm talking to the producers, see if maybe I could get a love scene."
Wow, got a love square going on. Wow, there you go. Hey, Anthony, how do you think that would have worked out had Bobby been added to the mix? Do you think you would have had you had a less chance against Michael Beach. What about Bobby Cannavale?
Of course he was jockeying for a love scene with Lisa. Of course. We call him Bobby Two-Page.
That works. Do you remember, Anthony, those early scenes with Lisa, sort of when you and Michael's character were sort of fighting over Lisa's character at all?
I love that stuff. I think that's really where we cut our teeth into like where Carlos and Doc's characters could have a lot of fun, and I think that's where they like picked up on that, and they ran with it, and I think that was really the genesis for like, oh, we can have such great fun with them as the Doc and Carlos characters. So yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, but me and Anthony, we got our groove on American Horror Story. We played husband and wife.
I remember that. I remember you guys singing on that show. Yes. So you finally got you got it to do it eventually anyway, Anthony. So that works.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that I inevitably got Lisa Vidal. So like, yeah.
And you know what? I got Bobby Cannavale because I got a love scene with him on stage.
Hey, look at that.
It's all very incestuous.
Jeez. See, I remember the one that always blows my mind with Bobby is that the actor, and maybe Ed or Guy can help me out here, the guy who played Paulie, the one who shot Bobby Cannavale's character and killed him, I think it was Oz or something, another show later on where they played lovers. And I remember watching that episode being blown like, you killed Bobby. Like, what's going on? Now you're hooking up. This doesn't work out.
Well, Bobby's been everywhere.
Yeah, he has. He's doing all right for himself. Lisa, I just want to say, because I think you've got to go in just a second, but I want to be able to say to you, thank you so much for for doing this and showing up and to be able to share some memories of it. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for your time here on it.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for doing this. I love everybody. I miss you guys. I love you all so much. You know you're always in my heart. And I just look forward to times that we can work together again and have fun. And you're always like so bright in my heart, all of you. I love you. And I miss you guys.
I love you, Lisa.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Bye. Thank you, Ben. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Have a great night. Anthony and Yvonne, I know you've got to head off in just a second, but I just wanted to quickly touch really quickly on your lovely daughter, Levi, the Olympics. You've just come back from Paris. Congratulations, first of all. I know we caught up in Paris quickly when we were there, and I asked you this in person, but I want to ask you this on the show. What's it like, sort of all of a sudden now being the least famous Ruivivar and kind of transitioning that now onto Levi with all her success that she's having right now?
Well, actually, Anthony and Levi were just, first of all, we are also grateful to our Third Watch community who like threw in and helped support Levi get there, and just like the last final Olympic push, almost everybody from Third Watch donated and supported her in various ways. So that was actually amazing.
Great.
And then Anthony just went to the Philippines with her where she was getting recognized, and people were like, "What? You're an actor?"
Yeah, I was like the side. They're like, "Oh, you're an actor? Oh, wow!" Like everyone like recognized Levi in the Philippines. We got to meet the president of the Philippines, which was amazing.
Whoa. Wow.
She's just yeah. She was invited to like the palace to meet the president. So it was incredible. Like he's just on it's amazing. It's incredible. We were laughing. Yeah, as we're moving her in, we're like, oh, it's like Holly and Carlos, flash forward. They're like moving their middle child into college, just like the end of the show.
Yeah, Ed, you didn't follow through with the Philippines and the Olympics and that whole storyline. No one would have believed it.
Yeah, wow.
Season 7.
Yeah.
We'll do the spin-off.
He had it written down for season 7. Had it got continued on basically, but she's moving into college today. So big day obviously now for Levi. So obviously proud parent moment as well today, I can imagine as well.
Yeah, we got last night. We got a special chef's table in the athletic dining because the head chef also recognized Levi.
Yeah, she's Filipino. The head chef from Athletes Signing is Filipino, so he invited her, and it was like, she's having a great time, man.
Wow,
it's wild.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Cool. That's incredible. I actually, before I let you guys go, the one question I'm going to save for everybody else at the end. So please, you guys are going to have a lot more time to think about this. Savannah, it might be a little bit more difficult for your character when you hear the question I'm about to ask, but I would love to know what you think 25 years later Carlos and Holly would actually be doing right now. Do you honestly think that this could be something that they're still together? They've had a child. She's going to college. Like, I mean, where do you think Carlos and Holly would be at 25 years later?
Well, I know that they did have 3 children in the Ed wrote it like in the after whatever the narration afterwards. So we definitely had 3 children, which we have in real life. Wow, I don't know. Maybe
everybody else gets more time to think about this.
Farming, like he's like hemp seed farming, and he's gotten really crunchy. And Holly, I'm gonna write his narrative.
Yeah, we started a commune. We started a commune of hemp growers
in Pennsylvania.
With all the cows that you saw, I think, when you visited Holly's parents. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep, I see it.
We moved in with Holly's parents.
Yep.
We moved in with Holly's mom.
The Levines.
Yeah.
The Levines.
Keeping up with the Levines.
And that's what we're going to call our legal marijuana store.
Wow.
I don't know. No, maybe like with
if I had to guess what everybody would have said about their characters, that probably wouldn't have been in my top 10, but that might have been,
Really?
Everybody else has so much to live up to on where their characters are going to go.
I want to know what Ed thinks. Does he like this storyline?
I just want to know if did Holly take his name? Is she Holly?
Holly Nieto.
No, he took Holly's name.
Oh, Carlos Levine.
Carlos
Perfect.
Levine. Yeah, okay. That works. All right. Okay. There you go.
And everyone's always confused when I walk into a room. They're like, Carlos Levine?
You don't look Jewish.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Guys, it's such a pleasure to have you back here on the show. We really appreciate it. Obviously, we know it's a big day for you guys and for Levi and everything, but we appreciate you popping in and saying hello and joining us on this special occasion. So thank you.
We wouldn't miss it for the world. Sorry, the timing was the way that it was. We'd love to stay. And I mean, it's so amazing to see you and everyone like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I'd love to, I hope we can get together. Last time we saw Guy was in the mall by our house, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. Bring a hat.
we'll have to do it.
You know.
Yeah.
Bring the Walter White hat. I'm sticking with that guy now that you said it. I'm calling it the Walter White hat. But guys, thank you so much, and
We love
all
all
the best.
you guys. Miss you guys.
Love you too.
Yeah,
We love you guys.
everyone.
So good to see you.
So nice
Good
to
luck.
see everyone. Bye. Love you.
Have a great night. Have a great night. I want to actually just with Nahanni and Savannah, given this both times I've had you on the show. So I'll come to everybody shortly to talk about their times. But Nahanni, start with you quickly. Just do you remember sort of being cast on the show and kind of like that journey to even get cast as Nicole? And obviously at the very beginning, that you know, amazing first season where we're still learning about all these great characters and everything. I mean, sort of those experiences of just getting on the show itself.
Oh yeah, I never forget that one because I turned it down because it was a small part. I was in LA and a screening that I was doing where I had a big part. So I turned it down and my manager was really mad at me. And then I came back to New York and where I lived and she said they're casting that part again because they didn't like who they cast. And they shot it, right? Ed, do you remember this? They shot it with some other girl. And they said, you know, you're here. You have no excuse. Go on this audition. So I went on the audition. It was just me and John Wells. And the scene was I had a fur coat and I take off the fur coat. Oh, yeah, you remember. And they used that scene in all the previews. I'm like I'm the star of the show. But I just was the only one in my underwear. So apparently that was helpful. So, so I did this scene with John in his office and not a fur coat and not underwear, but, you know. I did a little something and then they cast me and Jason was very, very shy. Cause the first, can I say this on this show? The first first night I worked, we did two episodes and one was they were very sexual and Jason was very shy. And it was really cute because I was like, I'm the one that should be nervous. I'm like the guest, the new person that's here for one day, and you're a regular. So I had to make him comfortable with the, sort of explicit nature of what we were doing.
Wow.
And it's really funny.
Wow.
I laughed my ass off that night. It was really great. So, yeah, and I was just like, okay, that was nice. And then they wrote another episode and I was called again and again because I was only hired for one, as far as I knew, one thing, one day. And then it just kept going and going, I think because Jason and I had good chemistry and we had a little too much fun, I guess. And and then pretty soon I had parents and a job and a condo and I was like, this is looking pretty good. I like this. And that was the first season. Nobody knew how great the show was yet, except I think the people who were on it, you know, and that it was what was great about being on that first season was watching it like unfold and watching it just blow up, you know, watching people just fall madly in love with the show and with the characters. And I loved it. I fell in love along with everybody else in New York City. You know, we were all so proud, you know, New Yorkers were like so proud of this show because it was such a New York show. And then I got that, episode 1 of season 2 and I was like, come on, no.
Damn.
I forget he was directing that night, but he was like, kept saying like, don't dry up on me. I'm like, oh, don't worry. There's no problem. I cried all night. I was like, no, please don't. So I think the fans, because I looked at the fan boards at one point and the fans thought Nicole was a little slutty.
Oh,
it was a little too slutty for and I assume that's what happened because, you know, wasn't my place to ask. I was never a regular, but I wanted to be a regular. I was like, let's get married. We'll have kids. It'll be awesome.
Absolutely.
It was such a great,
way down.
Such a great show, such a great cast. Everybody was awesome. It was such a cool thing to feel that buzz, like everyone knowing this is going to be big, because you never know. You're on a show and you're like, it could get one season, it could get canceled. You never know, right? What you're signing on to. So it was fun to be around that. And I had a blast. Even if it was only 7 episodes, I totally had a blast. And it was definitely a high point, just one of those jobs you remember fondly.
Well, I like hearing that because it's interesting when you hear that sort of with characters, particularly when they come in and play the partner of the main characters, because you would be the first, I guess, regular partner of one of the cops. Obviously, Molly's character Yocus was married, so she obviously still had a husband with Chris Bauer. But at that point, Coby Davis never had a partner. Obviously, Skipp, Sully, Tatiana, Savannah didn't come in until season 2. So you were kind of the first regular, maybe of all the characters. Am I thinking that correctly, Ed and Guy, that none of the other characters really had a long-term partner until Bosco had Nicole?
And certainly none of them ever took Bosco to the opera.
No, exactly. Right?
I remember that. It was.
Oh, we lost Nahanni there, I think. That's a cliffhanger of a story saying that she remembers that and then it pauses. We do that deliberately here. We'll be back after these short messages here on NBC. We'll come back to with Nahanni. I'd love to, Savannah, just quickly with you as well. Obviously, we've got probably a bit more to talk about with your relationship with Skipp and the character of Sully and everything like that. But do you remember sort of being cast and sort of everything along the lines that led you into joining Third Watch?
I remember. I don't know. I don't remember. I think I remember Ed. Did I audition for Ed?
Yes. Probably me and Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris talked about you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
And yeah, gosh.
Hey, Savannah, I want to tell you something that has happened a lot since the show. There's a lot of people who are stunned when I tell them that you're not Russian. I mean, they really, your accent was so good that people really believed that you were Russian.
I got to say, that threw me off a little bit too, Savannah, when you first talked on this, because you and I have only spoken over email, and this is the first time that we've ever spoken. And again, having just I literally rewatched your death episode probably 2 days ago. So to all of a sudden see, haven't aged today, by the way, you're looking fantastic. And then all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, okay, she's got an American accent. This is a little bit strange. So I second what Ed says there.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that I think the first season, definitely, I remember when I was working on my accent, she was Polish, actually.
Ah, okay. Polish to Ukrainian. That's a good transition.
It was Ukrainian, and then the pages started coming in, and it was like she turned Russian.
What, Skipp? Do you remember what was that like when you were sort of reading that all of a sudden Sully's going to get a partner? Was that like exciting? Were you like, great, Sully deserves a bit of love, bit of sex on the side, something like that?
Well, I'll just look at Savannah. Yeah, I was very excited. I was overwhelmed. That it wasn't like Ray Nitschke, in a blonde wig. That's an old football player reference. But I just gave away my age. But I was overjoyed. Plus, she was completely awesome. I mean, this astonishing actress, so it was like, it really elevated everybody's game. And I never imagined, given who Sully was and what a crank he was, and how he didn't even want a partner in his car, that they were going to dream up a partner for him in his private life. So it was magical and wonderful. It was very cool. That's why I killed that motherfucker Roy Scheider for taking her out. I always brag about the fact that I'm the guy who killed the shark in Jaws.
Killed the shark.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimate shark killer. Ed, I re-listened to our 20th reunion from 5 years ago, and you told the the great story about how you cast Roy Scheider, about how you called him up.
I was
he
just
called you
thinking
back.
the same thing.
Yeah, and he called you back,
About
15
him calling
minutes?
me?
Yeah, and with the accent, basically, and doing that.
Yeah,
Like,
he called me as the character.
Yeah, which,
And
I mean, is that
the
daunting?
whole time he was talking, I just wanted to say, does this mean yes? Like, I don't know what this means. Does this mean you'll do it?
Yeah, absolutely
I didn't
insane.
know that.
Savannah, did you work with the same people as Roy, like to get these good, Eastern European accents going down, or is this just something that you just work on your own?
That was something that was like my favorite part of acting, was just accents, basically.
Accents. That seems fun. Like I always it's always one of these things where like I mean, there are so many actors that to this day I don't realize are British or, not American, because they can put on the accents. I didn't know Christian Bale wasn't American until he won an Oscar. I'm like, oh, he's Welsh. Okay, there you go. It's come from an Australian when we take over Hollywood, right? And all our accents kind of blend in with that. Ed, was there always a plan with the character of Sully to kind of have this love story, sort of give him a wife, things like that? I mean, kind of, do you remember those initial plans when you introduced the Tatiana character at all?
Not from the beginning. I mean, the thing about Third Watch is we never knew we were back at the end of any season. So we couldn't really do a lot of long-term planning like that. So certainly not from the beginning, but yeah, there was a point when it was like I really wanted to see Sully, his personal life more, and to be able to do that, we had to give him someone to interact with in that personal life.
Yeah. So
that's kind of where the idea of getting him hitched with someone, but then Savannah came in and she was so good that we just had to keep making bigger and bigger stories for her. So it was like, and also Skipp was so good with her. Sully was so good with her that it was just fun to see that side of Sully, because he's always, he's the crap guy. And it was so good to see him, a softer side of him.
I tried to I was trying to do a crap count basically, and it's about halfway through season 4. I think I'm up to 6. Skipp, I think you've said crap 6 times in 4.5 seasons, so a bit of time to catch up. Yeah, I think season 6 is where the crap comes out. Like I think that's just where
surprised. I'm surprised it's so few.
Yeah, I was intrigued that Coby. The thing that I love particularly in those early sort of episodes with Davis's interaction with Sully is kind of you're always trying to hook him up with somebody. So you set him up on a blind date, of course. At one point, there's like people in the building that you're trying to kind of hook up with. Do you think? I mean, obviously we see Davis at one point is warning Sully like, oh, she's a scammer, Tatiana. She's trying to get a green card. And then all of a sudden, you help, like, just that. What was that whole experience like from your perspective, kind of seeing those characters grow and then having Davis kind of work out with Sully and finally seeing him fall in love and get all that relationship side of things?
I can't really remember a lot of the specifics about that. Like when you said, I was hooking him up with people, that it just popped into my head that Davis was doing that. I'd forgotten about that, but I just remember the dynamic was always kind of like Davis always saw the best in Sully, even when he was trying to be a grumpy Gus. So he always wanted the best for him, and then by the time they became sort of like family, you know what I mean? It was just like somebody looking out for his basically his surrogate dad.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, and Savannah, Skipp, I applaud you both for still inciting these reactions out of me 25 years later. Every time I watch the 2-part episode where Savannah Tatiana gets killed and then Skipp when Sully's like breaking down at the funeral at the end, I lose it every time without fail. It is the one television episode that I will always cry in no matter what. And again, 2 days ago, bawling my eyes out because it's just, I think the thing that I've always appreciated about that storyline is just seeing Sully become vulnerable and kind of fall in love and then sort of this sweet relationship that you're able to form there. So I just want to say thank you to both of you and to Ed and to Guy for helping create, these stories to be able to do that.
Well, Skip was really crying because he realized he wasn't going to be able to kiss Savannah again.
I'm glad you said it because I was sure thinking it. That was no acting required, Ben. That was Skip being really, really sad that Savannah
was crying too, of course. Let's not lie as well, right? You were very upset too, so not being able to kiss Skip anymore. That's a bit of a tragedy.
No, it was.
It was a
kind of works out that way with the well. Do you have any Savannah sort of memories working with Roy, sort of sharing some of those scenes with Roy Scheider at all?
I remember the fork.
Yeah, stabbing him. Yeah.
I remember the cardboard and the fork. But yeah, not a whole lot of other memories of him, honestly.
Do you have memories of Skip in terms of anything offset, fun happening, like kind of give us a bit of an insight into the man that is Skipp Sudduth working with him on a show like Third Watch?
Yes. I remember hanging out with Skip and really having a good time. I think, did you come to my dad's loft in New York?
Yeah, I did. I came and saw your dad's work. Her father's a great artist and painter, and yeah, it was amazing.
Wow.
Is that some of his work behind you, by the way?
That's one of his. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I recognized it.
Cool.
Fantastic. Great. I like this.
Yeah, we totally hung out. It was really cool. Really cool.
Great.
Fun.
Do you share, Coby? Did you get to join in on the fun as well? Like, were you hanging out, sort of 5-5 Charlie, getting invited at all?
With Skip?
Yeah, and Savannah, like, I'm putting you all on the spot here right now to see where these invitations were going.
No, Savannah was just hanging out on set and on the times when we had scenes that intersected. But with Skip, yeah, my whole time in New York. To this day, actually. Skipper and I see each other pretty much every day. This is really the view that I know him best right here. This Zoom view. We've been Zooming like crazy lately.
I love hearing these. Again, I said this 5 years ago, but it's just it makes the fanboy in me really happy that you guys still are close after all these years. So thanks for keeping that alive for us fans.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna maybe share the Thanksgiving at your house story.
Oh,
what do you think?
Do what you got to do.
Well, it's kind of okay at this far removed from when marijuana and all of its associated temptations were illegal back in the day. But Coby hosted Thanksgiving one year. I can't remember exactly which year it was, but my brother and I decided we were going to bring pot brownies, and so we went online, went on the High Times site, and got the exact recipe. We'd never done it before. We did it really up to the following it to the letter, with sautéing it at exactly the right temperature and all this sort of stuff. And we're constantly licking our fingers and getting more and more stoned. We haven't even gone to the dinner yet with the brownies, and so then we do the classic brownie thing of, let's eat one, but let's just eat a half, because you don't want to eat too much. And so we ate the half, and then we were like, of course, at this point, we were already so stoned we couldn't feel our noses. Our noses were like numb. But we were like, I don't really feel anything, so let's eat another half. You're supposed to wait. Well, we didn't wait. We ate another half. We got in a cab. We went to Coby and Avis's house, and everybody's there. I can't even remember who was really there, but I went in to put our coats on the bed, and I sat down on the edge of the bed.
He never came
out. I was gone.
Wow.
And I was gone.
No turkey.
I passed out.
He was fucking gone. He came in. He was like, "Hey, Skip, hey, hugs," and I didn't really pick up on what was going on, in his head. He's like, where to put my jackets? I said, yeah, put the jackets in on there on the bed. And then I was off doing something else, whatever I was doing, getting stuff ready. And then after a while, I'm like, where the fuck is Skip? And he was in there laid out on all the coats.
Missed the entire Thanksgiving. I was wiped out for the.
And you actually only just left that room to come on this episode today. For a true story. That's how long it's been.
That's never been shared in public before.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I think Sully that leads me into what I think Sully would be doing now. I think he would own a little edibles joint, probably upstate New York, somewhere where he used to be the sheriff and then retired from being the sheriff and opened a little dispensary and sells his own edibles. What?
Everyone's post story is like pot related. Why is this?
Well, it's legal now in New York, right? Like that's just that's
What's
how it works.
going on?
He's up in his cabin,
for sure.
everything. Is Davis not? He's not involved in that. He's with Sasha. She's like the mayor of New York by now, isn't she? They've got kids, and you're in the anti-crime. That's what Davis ended, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I would assume he's probably just kept working his way up, and now he's, he's probably whatever. I don't know, Ed. What rank do you think that would be?
Oh, I'm sure he's running districts now.
Okay.
He's downtown. He's a boss.
Is this hard to hear what people are thinking their characters would do, Ed? Like, your characters all of a sudden.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
Is it hard to kind of hear them sort of butchering your characters a little bit and not thinking where you would think they would end up?
No, because they're just as much their characters as they are mine. I mean, we all group together. Whatever they think. A lot of times I would ask them, so what do you think? What do you think, Coby? What do you think Davis would do here? Or what do you think that Sully would do? By the way, one of the funnest things during that time to do in New York was walk around with Skipp, because people would pull up and just yell out, "Sully, Sully!" People loved Sully.
Wow.
Yeah. People did. And I lived next door to a precinct.
You actually lived next door to a precinct, did you? So would you leave your building in costume, and would they think you're actually a cop, or?
No, I wouldn't want to have done that. But luckily, I've often said that luckily they liked the show because, cops can be pretty, if they think it's bullshit and you're doing cops on TV, they can be pretty harsh. But these guys totally loved the show, all the cops on the show. But,
Was that, Bill, for you, you said in the 20th reunion about how when you first appeared, you're a little bit nervous that people would see it because, you were a little bit concerned about the reaction it would have had. But as time went along, what was sort of the reaction from the FDNY firefighters, kind of, a real firefighter being an actor, and kind of like the way that was being portrayed?
It's a very unique experience doing, I'd go from being a fireman to play a fireman. And that was a unique experience in itself. And then I knew the minute that the show first aired, my life was going to change in as fact as, going to the firehouse, because they're not like policemen. They're not like that at all. So it was, the only thing that I had was that I had a pretty good reputation as a fireman. So,
well, that's good. That's a good start, because that rivalry between the rivalry between like the NYPD, FDNY, cops, and firefighters. I mean, that's legit, right? Like outside of like a TV show, there is a strong rivalry between the two.
That really only arises in like situations where it really doesn't matter. Anytime that I've ever been involved with a police officer or emergency services, and things needed to get done, they just get done. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what uniform.
Ben, that's actually more a Chicago thing.
So you brought that in over from Chicago.
Yeah, it was something that I brought to the show, but it was more a Chicago thing.
Interesting.
In Chicago, we really hate each other.
Wow. Okay.
Did you find that same thing going on in New York? Were you exposed to that in New York City? Yeah, you had.
No, actually, I had a lot of. I had like Keenan would say all the time. He goes, we don't hate these guys that much, right? I'm like, go to Chicago.
Just bringing all that Chicago, because there was a lot of those
guys when you got your hair frosted.
Hair frosted.
Then you got your tips frosted, right? At one point. Yeah.
Well, you're not talking to Coby, I don't think. So.
No, I might have been out. Is that when Chulak told me to go get a haircut?
I don't. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love these stories that are emerging, basically coming from that, because
I think that was like season 2 when I came in. Like I get the call. I come in and it was Charlie Hayden, Chris Chulak, and Charlie said, "Okay," and then Chris said, "Get a haircut." I was like, "Okay."
Guy, did you ever tell anybody to get haircuts when you were like directing episodes or a producer? Were you telling people like this sort of stuff as well?
No, I mean, that was the fun thing about the shows. We loved the dead accuracy of it, and that's why it was so great to hire the real FDNY, and why Billy and DK got elevated through there, because they'd come with their own turnout gear and it was as real as it could get, because we didn't want to train background artists to act like because they carry themselves differently with that gear and the boots, and so we loved having the real guys come and do it, and of course the advantage is for the crew, when we would wrap, if we were near a bar, we'd walk in with FDNY and drink for free. I mean, come on, those guys were worshipped, so it was always a good time. But no, I mean, it kind of at a certain point, with the guys like Keenan and our tech advisors, we kept it as real as possible, because that was the fun part, kind of coming from.
Nope,
you froze it just a little.
We're freezing everyone today. Apparently, we just get halfway through an answer and we're just like, no, we don't want to hear from you anymore. Apparently,
I got a story. The first time I showed up on set, I worked the night before, and they called me and they said, "You got to be in Harlem at 7 a.m." I said, "Well, I'm working till 9 o'clock. I don't know if that's going to happen." Right? And she said, "Well, the second AD or whoever it was, they said, well, do the best you can." So I called up one of the guys that was supposed to relieve me, and he came in at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were at a job in Queens, and I was, I got all smoked up and a plaster all over me. I was soaking wet, and at the time I was a covering lieutenant, so I just threw all my stuff in the trunk and went right down to the set. So now I walk on set. They say, "Well, you have to go to wardrobe." I go to wardrobe. They give me this bunker gear that's like, brand new. I'm putting it on. It's like really stiff and stuff, So I'm like, can I show you something? So I went to my car and I took this wet, smelly stuff out of my car, and I walked in with that. And I said, "Can I wear this?" And I was like, oh yeah, wear that. We're gonna wear that. And then, so I wore that. For the rest of my career.
Wow.
And then later on in the day, I walked by wardrobe, and they had all the bunker gear, and they were running it over with a golf cart, trying to get me up. Yeah.
You set the tone. You set the standards.
Yeah,
wow.
Throwing stuff at it. It was stepping on it.
So influential.
God, what a great story.
Far out.
You can't make that up.
And that's how you became a regular. You went, "This guy's so good, we just have to keep him on," basically. So
I had to take Eddie Cibrian under my arm because,
he's too good looking to really pull off that firefighter, and he's got to get things a little bit dirtier and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to add somebody else in. We're going to add in right now, and I'm very excited because, again, this is another person we've not had on the show before, and another person who played a regular character. We're going back to the medical side of things here. I'm so excited to welcome Darien Sills-Evans, and he's connecting in right now. Played Dr. Fields from season 3 right to the finale. If we want to say there right now, Darien, can you hear us? Can you? There you are. Hello. Welcome.
It's so good to see you.
Welcome on board, and welcome to the Oz Network. It's a pleasure to have you here, Darien, on this special occasion. How's it going?
Good. Sorry I'm late.
It's so relaxed here that you can show up whenever you like. But we're sort of going over many different memories and everything along the lines right now. But I just have to say, so season 3 you get brought in, and you're right to the very end. You're in the finale. I sort of, you end up going right to the very end. So we've asked this to Savannah, to Nahanni before, Lisa, sort of some people who haven't been on this show before. But can you give us a brief overview of getting cast on the show and sort of that memories of sort of even getting initially put on Third Watch?
I got the job right after I was on Cosby, and Brett Goldstein was the casting director on Cosby as well, and he brought me in to meet everyone at Third Watch, and I guess they were looking for, someone who could be the doctor for a few episodes, so they didn't have to keep switching them out. And I think the most important thing they asked for was me to be able to spit out all of the medical jargon. And they just wanted someone who could do that. And so I went in and did like 3 or 4 medical bullets. And they were like, yeah, okay, good enough. And then after that, I was doing a scene with Jason like 2 days later.
Wow.
And I think I was only expected, in my mind, I was going to do like 2 or 3. And then I was there for, I don't know how many seasons, but it was, it was fun. So
what's that for Ed and Guy, like when it comes to casting someone like Darien, when it's sort of like, obviously you touched on, you didn't know if the show's always coming back. So obviously long-term planning, but what does it go through your mind when you see Darien come in and then all of a sudden he becomes more of a regular? Like, kind of, is it just he's doing good at his job, we want to develop his character? Like, kind of, how does that work?
Did you want to answer, Guy, or should I?
Well, no, I all I can really, because a lot of times as a guest director, or even, I'm not always involved in the casting, only just in the episodes that I do. But there's like an ease that certain actors can spit that stuff out, and because I had previously been on ER as a cameraman, so I've watched a lot of guys come in and not be able to do it. And so the worst thing you can do is when they're kind of mixing the words up, is just is to upset them. So it's like, no, I'm not worried. We'll get this. Don't worry. Just, don't worry. The less you get in your head, the better, because you realize that, being angry or being mad it's very counterproductive. So when someone like Darien comes in and does it really well, I mean, it's not only is it, you're going to make your days and you're going to get through it quickly and easily, but again, it just, you feel like you're in the hands of somebody that's experienced, and that's the best feeling in the world. But as far as casting, I mean, Ed, you've had a lot more experience with guys coming in and reading, guys and girls reading in front of you, not on the set.
Yeah, and with Darien especially, a lot of people who play doctors like take every word really seriously. Like it's like this is all life and death. But Darien was like threw it away so nicely. It's like, oh, this guy feels like a doctor. He feels like a doctor to me. So every time we needed a doctor, hey, was your first scene with Bosco? Is that when you gave him the shot?
Yeah, that one.
Wow, that's a good introduction.
That was another thing. Like you and whoever you were playing against, you always kind of meshed really well with whoever, like with Jason or whoever you were playing against, which is another reason we kept bringing you back, because you just felt like a doctor and you worked so well with everyone that whenever we needed a doctor, it was Darien. After it was Anson Mount, I think, before Darien.
I remember Anson.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a rotation, wasn't there, after Lisa sort of left, I think, and then Darien kind of seemed to be
not a rotation. I think it was Anson, and then Darien was the rest of the time.
What was that like in terms of when it came to balancing? Like, I mean, this is a separate question I'll come back to about obviously balancing, the fire, the police, and the paramedics, but obviously still having that medical. You need to have someone like a Darien. You need to have a Lisa. You need to have that doctor when people are bringing in that. Like, was there much of a balancing act of not trying to turn this too ER-like at that time, because it's not purely a medical show, if that makes sense?
Not for me. We just used what we needed for the story. I didn't worry about that. It's like if this is a real medical story, we stayed with the medical people. If it was a paramedic story, we stayed with them. I never really worried about that. I just wanted the story to be right. And the cast too was always good about that. It was like sort of like, okay, so I'm not that much in this one. And I never had anyone complain about it. It's just sort of like we just kept telling stories.
That's what we want to see. We want to see the stories. Darien, what's it like joining a show kind of 3 seasons in? I mean, at that point, the cast is obviously, they know each other well. They've kind of got a good flow going. I mean, do you find it easy, hard, kind of joining a show at that point? It was, as I said, 3 seasons into its run at that point?
It's much easy. It's much easier than getting on a new show. That's, in my opinion, by the time I got there, it was already a Swiss watch, and everyone had great chemistry and knew what they were doing. And I didn't really have much to do. So it's kind of preferable. And what was great about it was everyone was really nice. And I had come off a show where people didn't have as much chemistry. And so it was really interesting going, these people like each other here. This is interesting. I could,
we won't ask you what show that was then. We won't ask you what show that was that you came from.
But it was really nice and warm, and it was like 15 minutes from my apartment. So I loved everything about it.
There you go. Look at the convenience of everybody there. Coby, where were you? Like, I feel like I need to ask everybody right now how close they were to everything. Skipp was near a police station. You're near the office. Coby, how far away were you from commuting then to work each day?
I lived in Manhattan the whole time, and we were for the majority of it we were filming in Brooklyn. So I was
not too far.
Where was I? I was up by Harlem, then I was down in Battery Park City, and then I was up in the Upper West Side.
There you go. That works. Bill, where were you? I mean, sort of. I'm not trying to find your addresses here. This isn't me stalking you or anything like that. It's
I'm still up in Warwick, New York. I'm about 65 miles northwest of the city.
Right. Okay. And Savannah, were you sort of based in the city at the time, or sort of how did that work for you?
Yes. I was living right downtown, right near the Twin Towers.
Wow.
That was so I was right there, and it was very easy commute.
There you go. That's a question I've always been dying to know, and Ed and Guy, I'm hoping you might be able to answer this. The 55th precinct, was that meant to be in a specific part of the city? Because often you will be in certain parts that don't really intersect and connect too much. So I don't know if there was technically a geographical part of New York that the 55th was meant to be in, or just wherever it took you.
It was just New York.
Yeah, not only was it not a specific place, it was on the corner of King and Arthur, which don't meet.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such there's no such corner, no such intersection in New York.
Is that ever something?
A lot of the show was written almost as a Chicago show.
Right.
Like Third Watch didn't even exist. They didn't call them watches in New York. That's a Chicago thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it was always meant to just be this magical place where, at the corner of King and Arthur.
Does that piss New Yorkers off? Do you get New Yorkers coming to you going like, that's bullshit, Times Square is nowhere near Queens, like you're making this up? Like, does that annoy them?
If we got a letter like that, I would write back, please don't watch the show.
Ed, was it the original title of the pilot, Welcome to Camelot? Because Camelot, King and Arthur.
Yeah,
that's the title of it.
The show was called Camelot, right?
Camelot.
I mean,
originally it was called Camelot.
Wow.
Early on in my auditioning process, the show was called Camelot, right, Ed?
Originally it was called Camelot, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
King and Arthur.
So then, obviously the term Third Watch coming from Chicago, at what point in the process do the powers that be go, hey, we like the words Third Watch better than Camelot, and change it to that title? Do you remember that?
Well, we didn't know where we were going to film. I remember when I booked it, it was like, all right, you got it. We don't know if you're going to be moving to Chicago or New York or Ed, where were the other places? Wasn't there some places that were kind of up for grabs?
No, it was like I said, it was originally written for Chicago, but Wells thought that we wouldn't be able to get enough actors in Chicago to fill out, because if you remember, originally there were a lot more crazy ass assignments on the show. Like it was almost like racing from one job to another and then we eventually slowed down into telling longer stories. But originally I think NBC thought it was going to be emergency. That's why they put us on Sunday nights at first, because that was the emergency slot. That emergency did well. And if you remember, like the pilot is kind of like that. It's just crazy, jump from job to job to job to job.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't Chicago. It was never supposed to be any place other than that. It was like Chicago, and then it's like, we need to do this in New York.
Do you think, I was going to ask a question about the 2 crossover episodes that Third Watch obviously did with ER and Medical Investigation, sorry. Had it been set in Chicago, do you feel there would have been more crossover with ER?
Yeah, probably way more than I would have wanted. Because in essence, there was some question about whether or not it was a spinoff from ER at first. Which is another reason I'm glad we went to New York. But yeah, I'm sure we would have had to do a lot more than I wanted to.
Because the thing that I love about, I mean, I absolutely love the crossover episode, don't get me wrong, but then you kind of have these conflicts in a way where certain major characters were in, and Coby, you were in ER. Do you remember the character you played in ER?
That was my first job ever. First job ever was that. Yeah.
Really? Was that your? Oh wow! Where you got an erection, if I'm not mistaken, when somebody was like giving you an exam. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
You have one right now.
Yeah.
I was a college track and field runner that that came in for shortness of breath or whatever. And it turned out that he had testicular cancer. And then Maria Bello is doing the exam, and then he wakes up a little bit.
Gets me excited.
Yeah, and I didn't know that John and them had kept me in mind from that first job for Third Watch. I didn't know that throughout the whole process of auditioning for Third Watch that they had kept me in mind from that.
You really rose to the occasion, so they really kept you in mind with that. Because I mean the other conflict, because Beach of course was the partner of, was it Gloria? She was the old HIV storyline, wasn't it, Guy? That he was the one who gave HIV.
Ex-husband.
Yeah, that's right. And then obviously with Lisa, we had her on before. She then went on to be in a partnership with I've gone blank on the names. Carrie's the actress who played Carrie. She was a firefighter. Lorena, thank you very much. And all the different sort of connections there that happened. So it's interesting that you say that sort of people thought it was a spin-off of ER.
Yeah, but I never did.
I didn't either.
What was the decision? Do you remember the decision about the crossover? Was this sort of like something that just NBC wanted to try? Was this something that you guys kind of were planning? I mean, how does that decision come about to do a crossover?
All of things like that come from the network. They say, oh, wouldn't it be cool to give... It's about cross-promotion.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I didn't like about them is you have to... The way they work is we wrote one episode and they wrote another, and I really didn't like other writers writing our characters.
Wow. So there's no is it like a phone call or something between you and the AR office that kind of clarify?
But I just didn't like that I had to wait for a script to come out to find out what Davis was saying.
That's weird.
I
just didn't love it. Although the people, I mean, we worked with Sherry Stringfield and Neil McDonough. And I mean, they're all still friends. So it was fun in that respect of crossing over with actors you don't normally get to work with. But yeah, me personally, I didn't like to not know what they were going to be saying.
Was there ever any talks of other crossovers? Like obviously, Medical Investigation happened in season 6, but I mean, maybe a follow-up ER one or any other shows that they sort of whispered about doing?
They try to do them all the time, and I just didn't like to do them. So I would say I really, really don't want to do it.
It wasn't like a Third Watch Friends crossover?
Was it the Medical Investigation one that had a lion in it?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what I mean by stuff that we wouldn't have done.
So we need Anthony and Yvonne back on to sort of talk about it. I think Molly was sort of more involved with the lion in that episode from memory. But that was... I remember with that one because I think I talked about back in the 20th anniversary, I got into Third Watch because I was a big ER fan, and the way they promoted it, of course, was very much tied to ER. But when they did the Medical Investigation crossover, we didn't have that show in Australia. So when the Third Watch part aired, I had no clue what happened in the second part for years later because I don't think it ever aired in Australia. So I had to find a dodgy copy on the internet or something, to see kind of everything else that happened. So...
wow.
The joys of crossovers and living in different countries of that. Darren, I'd love to ask you, I asked this to everybody else on the show 5 years ago when we did our 20th reunion, but favorite sort of episode, storyline, anything that you sort of remember from working on the show that maybe stands out from your time on Third Watch?
I don't have a favorite episode. Well, maybe not, but one of my favorite experiences was the first time I ever did any type of action anything was on was on Third Watch, and I guess it was that episode where someone comes in and like shoots up the hospital, and I remember reading that thinking they want the doctor to do what? Like I'm just but okay. But so I remember that being like a lot of fun. But other than that, no, what was interesting about it is I was like a fan of the show before I got on it. So it was a little surreal, like getting tossed into it and then meeting Coby and Anthony and Skipp and everybody. So it was just kind of like, oh, it was great. And it was what was awesome about it was like I got to shoot out almost always in one day. So I had a lot of flexibility to do a lot of other stuff and still come back. And it was like having your cake and eating it too.
Who was your favorite character before you got on the show? Did you sort of watch it and go like, oh, favorite character?
Well, I had to be a Coby fan because I had a girlfriend that was really into Coby, and I was like, all right, I guess we're rooting for the brother. And so that was it.
Did you know that, Coby? Did you know that his girlfriend had a hot seat?
No. I assumed she did, but I didn't know.
Didn't want to say anything.
Your ER episode.
Yeah. That was a big fan of that one. Savannah, I mean, it sort of touched on some of your memories of it. Do you have any sort of other, favorite moments or anything that you sort of remember from your time on the show that stood out?
I remember just having a really good time with Skipp, and I loved the writing was really good and just really fun, and there was a real sense of freedom about. I just kind of felt like I could do whatever I wanted in a way. But also had great writers behind. I don't know how to explain the sort of difference between feeling like people are really doing their job behind the scenes, but also a lot of freedom, it felt like. And I guess there was a really fun, well, no, the really, I guess there was a few moments. We did some scene way uptown, and it was like that night that we went out. Do you remember this, Skipp? And is he gone?
He's ducked off for a moment. I don't know if his bathroom was calling or something, but he'll be back.
Was really fun. You remember this one, Ed? Like where they had this, like they went out and they had this great time. I don't know. Do you remember this? I don't. That was fun. But the funny thing that happened was that during that particular shoot, my trailer got broken into, and I had all this jewelry for some reason that got stolen. So that was kind of crazy.
Wow.
Your own jewelry, or
up in Harlem or something, and that stood out.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I guess the best thing about being on that show was all the cops in New York and they were so loyal to Skipp. And then all the other people that would always tell me like, don't break his heart. What are you doing to him? What do you do? That was always fun, those interactions with people. And then when 9/11 happened, that was amazing because, that was just such a obviously very intense moment for me and my family because we were right down there. And then to be shooting the show, that episode was really, I was really proud to be a part of that. And, just everyone coming together and, New York coming together and, everyone just kind of feeling really connected to each other, I think, during that time.
Still stands out. I mean, we touched on that, of course, 5 years ago, and we're recording this obviously only a few days after the 9/11 anniversary, but it's still just such a powerful couple of episodes that were put together. Sort of the obviously the In Their Own Words special in itself was just absolutely incredible. And then September 10th and everything that came there. I was actually going to ask you, Ed, on that quickly. the premiere of that season, was that meant to be the relay? Was that already shot? And then was everything sort of after 9/11 when you had to do September 10th and that was kind of just added in, or sort of how did that work in terms of the scheduling and all that?
The first episode of that season was supposed to be a building collapse.
Right. Okay.
And we thought, oh, that's a mistake. We can't really do that now.
Yeah.
So we actually, and there was an episode at the end of the season about a riot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was supposed to be one of the first episodes too, and we just moved it back to the end because we didn't want to see New York burning. Mm-hmm. We pushed that back to the end of that season. But yeah, it was a pretty huge upheaval when not only professionally but personally for a lot of people. I mean, myself, I didn't really want to do the show anymore.
Hmm.
It just seemed tough. Like, it was a really tough time.
I saw an interview on YouTube with John Wells, and he was sort of talking about it, and he was talking about that artistic license of too soon, of people complaining that you're, piggybacking off the back of a tragedy, and he sort of explained that line with it and about how ultimately the type of show that you're doing, how do you avoid it? You can't avoid 9/11 at all based on what the show is. So, I mean, it's sort of, obviously you're all put into a very tricky situation and everything along those lines. But Guy, do you sort of have anything to add on Ed and kind of what he was saying and sort of that moment?
Yeah, I remember the premiere we wanted it to, it was kind of talked about like a building collapse, and there was some video of people at a wedding and the building collapsed. And I think it was pitched, and for budgetary reasons, it wasn't going to be. So we thought, well, we'll push it off to the end. I think, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but so then we were getting ready to shoot an episode, and we didn't have a script. And so, I think over a weekend, like literally 2 or 3 days, Ed and Scott wrote the relay.
The relay.
And one of my favorite things I ever directed. I had the best time with the heart in the box.
Great episode. Great episode.
And then September 10th was one of those things. I had flown back to LA. I finally got a flight out back to LA, and I got it was sort of before PDFs. I got a call from Chulak who said to me, "There's a script coming to your house right now in an envelope. It's called September 10th, and you're going to fly back." I mean, he told me exactly what I was going to do, and the script that got written really quickly too. And it was a great privilege to get that episode. It was tough to shoot. I remember, Billy, you probably remember, we were all sitting around shooting in the firehouse around the round table, and sort of the people started getting really weepy about talking about stuff. And somebody, one of our real firemen said, "Look, this is what we trained for. We'd run in when people are running out." And he kind of gave this speech. He didn't realize he was giving a speech, but he said, "Look, this was the ultimate fire, and this is what we trained for, and we shouldn't be sad. We should be happy that it could always have been worse." And we all kind of cried and hugged for a while, and then got right back to work. And it was kind of it was a real roller coaster time to shoot something. And then we were flying down to Coby. You remember we flew down to Atlantic City to shoot your guys' scenes on the boardwalk. Yeah, crazy, great. Yeah, we helicoptered in. Yeah, and you, me, and Skipp. The crew had all obviously gone down earlier, and yeah, crazy. I mean, I could go on for hours about 9/11 stories and how that changed my life. And I'll stop now.
I think what John said was, I think he was right. It's the show was too connected to not address it. Wouldn't have been being honest, And it was, trust me, it was way too soon for me. Way too soon for me. Like Savannah, I lived right down there. We lived in Battery Park City. Mike Keenan, our technical advisor, was the one. He happened to be the one who, when my wife and I got evacuated, he was the one that got us on the boat to go over to New Jersey. And he had just lost his partner.
Wow.
So the show was so. We had to do it. We had to, and I felt that Ed and you guys just did such a beautiful job of honoring.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I think we're at that period of time now, with the amount of time that's past when you watch it, and I don't know when the last time any of you would have watched September 10th and sort of those episodes around it, but the way it holds up after all these years and the tribute it's able to do and give that sense of mood and everything happens. I mean, it really does hold up incredibly well to sort of pay tribute to it. And I think that, Ed, Guy, and everybody else involved in the show, obviously you put in a moment there where none of you want to be in. Ed, as you said, you didn't really want to do the show anymore, but you've been able to create this, material that has really, I guess, honored people in that moment and everything with it. So it does hold up significantly well. And I think of all the TV shows that obviously had to do things around that time, it's by far the one that I've seen that did it the best, if that's a way of putting it. It's obviously it's not something you want to do the best, but of how you're able to kind of do it. So if people haven't sort of seen it in a while, by all means, it's something to.
I'm sitting here trying to remember.
Yeah.
Trying to remember exactly what happened then, and I really have a hard time remembering it. But the one feeling that I get is I know that after we did it, when we did it, it was okay. It was okay because if it wasn't, I don't know. I don't know how that would have gone, but I know in my heart that I don't remember much of it, to be honest, but yeah. I know that it's okay. Mm-hmm. It was okay. And I don't
you probably been the first one to say something, right?
What's that?
You probably would have been the first one to be like, hey guys, whoa. This is not,
Yeah, probably. And like, I know that I remember like doing it. I remember the feeling that doing it, this is okay. It's okay to do it. Because if I didn't think it was okay, I wouldn't have done it. Right. We would have just kind of walked, I guess. I don't know. I don't, it's not in a bad way or anything like that. But I just probably wouldn't have done it. That's all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome that we did do it,
And it's also the one thing too that I think it over the years of sort of what followed and how we saw it still be tastefully used when it came to character development. So for example, you look later in that season with Jason's character of Bosco, sort of his breakdown, a lot of that was 9/11 related. And then obviously with Beach's character of Doc, sort of his breakdown in season 5. There were many things that led to his breakdown, of course, but then kind of ultimately that came down to that. So I think Ed, Guy kind of like, I guess tastefully using it still, like this was never exploited in which you made these characters sort of use it for something else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. I mean, it was very difficult. I spent a lot of time after that talking to first responders in New York about, and the whole Doc story came from a paramedic that said that story about setting up all of the triage and no one ever came, that they couldn't understand how no one came. And just things like that, I thought that was really powerful. What I tried to do was find ways to express it in ways no one else had, right? Like, because I always thought that what was important about Third Watch was to show people how it feels to be those people, not necessarily the cop stories or the paramedic stories, but how it feels to be them. And that story for Doc was one of those stories where I thought, wow, that is really something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
Yeah, great way of putting it there. We're going to get to some listener questions. We'll move on from this and get to some, because we've got some great listener questions that were sent in to sort of close this out. But a couple of things I just wanted to ask around the room in terms of just some random things. We've already tried to get what we think some of your characters would be up to after all of these years. I haven't asked that to Bill and Darien. So Darien, basically we've been asking people what they believe 25 years later their respective characters would be up to. What do you think Dr. Fields would be up to 25 years after Third Watch?
Dispensary.
He's helping Sully up in the cabin, grow some stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, Fields, I don't know. After 25 years, hopefully he's thinking of retiring by now if he's not and hopefully he's out of the ER. I don't think he can handle the stress for 25
Run in the
years.
hospital surely or something like that, right? Keeps on going with that. Bill, I mean, you again in the finale when Skipp's doing the narration, we get sort of a little bit of what you guys are up to. But does it reflect your own personal life about in terms of what Third Watch's Bill would be up to rather than real life's Bill?
I think I'd still be chasing fires. The best job on the planet.
Still doing it. Yep. That works. I mean, Guy and Ed, like you touched on the fact that this show, you never knew if it was going to continue, so it made it hard to forward plan. But did you ever like kind of jot down notes along the way of, oh, wouldn't it be cool if later on Davis did this or Sully did that? Or, like were there ever any sort of loose plans that you maybe kept in the back of your mind for what you could do with these characters in the future?
Do you mean beyond the show?
Like hypothetically, if season 7 was ever a possibility, like if that was ever on the back of the mind that there was maybe a direction that some of these characters would go.
Actually, Ben, I was just really grateful that they told us that it wasn't going to come back for season 7 because we could actually end it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time, like I said, we never went on hiatus knowing we were back for sure. And I was always afraid that something like that was going to happen and we wouldn't be back and it would just like sort of fade away. But I was really grateful that the network called and told me they didn't think it was going to come back for season 7, so we could actually do an ending.
Actually close it off.
I never really thought about him beyond, that last sort of Sully speech about where everybody ended up. I just am glad that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
To say, Sully's going to end up fishing and, where everybody's going to end up. I was just grateful to be able to do that.
Ends with the word
a lot of
crap.
shows never get that chance.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Which, actually on that, Skipp, I don't think we asked you this 5 years ago. Do you remember getting the script and knowing that you're the voice that gets to end the show? And is that like an honor that you're kind of that final voice of closing out this show after 6 years and it's all down to you to sell it?
Yeah, the whole thing was just such an honor and a gift and a miracle, in all of our lives. And so I remember being surprised and grateful to be trusted with that kind of responsibility. And I remember just like, it was all I could do while Eddie was directing the last episode to just not cry all the time. Because it was just, it was like a really, really, really important part of your life, winding down and coming to an end. And when I saw the design of the thing with the fishing and breaking the line and crap, I was just blown away. I was just blown away. I just thought it fucking says it all, first of all. And I was just so honored and blown away to be, given that responsibility and that gift of, and having it be so, such a perfect, it was so emblematic of everything else that Ed had created. And everybody's been talking about authenticity and the lives of the characters and stuff. And that last moment of Sully, fishing and breaking his line, and it's like saying the quintessential Sully line, and that being the coda, the last beat of the whole thing, was just, it was emblematic of how the writing worked through the whole show. It was so human, and it was great to hear Eddie, what I was talking about just a second ago, about how it felt to be first responders, and I don't know if anybody talked about this, but on 9/11, when we were down, a bunch of us were at the site that night, helping out, and our lights were down there. And during that next few days, when we didn't really know what was going to happen to the show, I was walking to try to get down to the site to work. And I was walking by the Javits Center, where first responders from all over the country were being staged. And as I walked down 34th Street toward West Side Highway, which is how you would walk downtown, they're all the sea of first responders and all their different colors of turnouts and uniforms and all this sort of stuff. And it was like a wave. They all recognized me, and they all called out. There were probably a couple hundred people, men and women, from all over the country who were come flooding in to help at Ground Zero. And I sort of got talking to a couple of them, and I was like, they're talking about we might not come back, and people are worried that it would be we'd be dishonoring the memory of the folks we lost and stuff to continue telling their stories. And it very quickly started to kind of ripple through this crowd of first responders, and people were like yelling, no, you have to keep going, you have to come back. Now more than ever, you have to tell these stories. And I passed that up the line, to Ed and to John and to Chris. I told them about that experience. And so the first responders always responding to the show with heart and love and feeling like they were really being represented in a lot of ways on television for the first time, from the standpoint of what Ed is talking about, what it feels like, it was just the whole thing was just a miracle, in my life, and I know in the lives of a lot of other people. So
great story. Great. I mean,
a long answer.
No, well, we appreciate the long answer, and you kind of transitioned beautifully into my next question, Skipp, because I was actually going to ask each of you if you all had a favorite fan interaction at any point, sort of throughout the show, be it working on the ground when you're sort of out there filming or anything along those lines. So, Skipp, great answer. Coby, I might go to you. Do you sort of have a memorable fan interaction at all during the filming of the show?
I don't know if I have a favorite one. It's just always just like Skipp was saying, it's, so many first responders connected so strongly to the show. To this day, people coming up to me and saying how much they appreciated how we represented them. So it was always just an honor to do that. I remember, so my across the street neighbor, he was the sheriff of LA County. He was the chief of Long Beach Police. And at the time he was second in command of LAPD. And I think this is when I was actually on Third Watch, like towards the end. And he asked me to go with him to the graduation of the cadets.
Wow.
And so he showed up to pick me up. He was like, "That's what you're wearing?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh shit." I didn't really know what I was getting into. So, okay, let me go and put on a sports coat. And I went up there with him. He got donuts on the way, by the way.
Stereotype.
He did. And I didn't know what I was getting into. And I ended up sitting with all the big wigs, like sitting in, I'm like an imposter. Like I pretend to be a cop, I'm sitting next to the mayor of LA.
Wow.
Yeah, trying to make jokes with him, and he was having none of it. But there was like 3 or 4 of the people that were graduating, as they walked by to shake my hand, said that they're doing this because of Third Watch.
Wow.
Yeah, I've gotten like 15 or 20 letters over the years from people who did one of those services because of Third Watch, and that is just awesome.
It's amazing to hear that, because the beauty about Third Watch is that this was never ER. This was never Game of Thrones. This was never the biggest show on television. I mean, if I say to people what my favorite TV show of all time is and I say Third Watch, I generally have to spend the next 5 minutes explaining what it is, because it was never on that level of some of these shows. But the beauty of the fan community, I feel at least, is that we all know it so well. We're all so connected to it. And I think what's beautiful about everybody on this call and everybody else involved in the show is that you're also friendly and interactive with the fans, because it's this tight community that you've all formed and everything along those lines. So, I mean, Ed, when you're getting letters like that, that's obviously great. Coby, hearing stories like that as well. But I mean, I can imagine at least Ed, Guy, from the behind the scenes perspective, that this small little fan community that exists, but you're still obviously getting these messages after all these years. I mean, that must feel pretty special to be involved in a show like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually only small as a group if you don't think about how small the audience is today.
It's relative. Yes,
we would get 11 or 12 million people an episode, and they would kill for that now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking that when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, 13 million guys, you guys are on the bubble.
Yeah.
No, the great thing I loved was that we were like this. I always looked at it. We were on an island 3,000 miles away from LA, and Wells and Warner Brothers, they were up to their ass, good and bad, with West Wing and ER. And I always felt like we were this little engine that could. They'd send us a few $1 million and some cool scripts, and we would shoot the fuck out of it, turn it in, and they would go, God, you did it again. I mean, you turn it, because they were pretty brilliant for the kind of the speed that we had to go. I mean, TV, there's no time to like do more than 2-3 takes and we're moving on. So, but everybody rose to the occasion. There was we didn't have to wait for somebody. Everybody was up and full speed. And that was the fun of it. I don't think I'm ever going to have that experience again. And also having gone on way after that, and that started my directing career, but I took things that I learned on Third Watch, things that, Ed, parts of scripts and I was able to kind of steal and pitch ideas that work so well on Third Watch in the past on future episodes. And of course, technique, and, Mr. Chulak has sort of been my mentor since, my first day on ER. And so, it meant everything to me. Mr. Chulak.
Mr.
Chulak. So it obviously, I can't say enough great things about how the show completely changed my life. And I, lifelong friends with Ed from here on, all of you guys. And there you go.
And Guy, early on when Guy was, before he was, when did your first directing was what, episode 13 was your first of season 1?
Yeah. Band of Brothers.
So it was when you were
that was the name of the episode.
When you were still doing camera for us in the very beginning, I remember it was like you were another cast member almost. You know what I mean? Like the way, I don't know. It felt like
it was quite a dance.
In the scene with us. Yeah.
Skipp, how many episodes did you end up directing, Skipp? Was it about 3 episodes?
3, yeah.
3 episodes?
3.
Okay, yeah, great. Coby, did you ever want to get into directing at all? Was that ever something you wanted to do back then, or have you done since?
I haven't yet. I do think it is something I want to do eventually. I've been waiting for my kids to be old enough to, direct, so the way I work is I've been working out of town a lot on all the stuff I've been doing since Third Watch. But what I do is I fly home all the time. So I'll go work for 2 days, fly home. I'll work for 4 days, fly home. And with directing, I know that I wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm just kind of waiting for my kids to be of a certain age where I could be gone for 3 weeks and it's all good,
That works. Savannah, you obviously touched a little bit before about fan interactions. You had a lot of people wanting you not to break Sully's heart, essentially. Tatiana not break Sully's heart. Was that sort of the scope? Did you have any other sort of memories of any other fan interactions at the time at all?
Just more first responder stuff, just seeing cops and on the street and drivers to airports and airport interactions and but just connecting to these fans that were really taking it very literally. Really.
Did anybody ever come up? Did people come up to you after when Tatiana died? I mean, because I guess, you technically did break Sully's heart, but not probably in the way they were expecting you to. So did anybody ever go off you why did you die? Why did you stab him in the shoulder with a fork? You should have just I don't know.
I don't remember anything. It was a few years of, people definitely making comments and asking questions, and then and then what you said, there's this real dissonance that happened with people because I don't sound anything like Tatiana.
I should have made you talk that way for the entire episode. I should have been that's a prerequisite of you coming on this show today. Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
I was going to say, Savannah, seeing you tonight made me think of something I haven't thought about, and I don't think any of us have ever talked about since it happened, and that's the weakest link.
I remember when I've seen that
an episode of the weakest link.
Yeah,
and I remember you came. And didn't Skipp and Coby win?
I didn't.
All I know is I was the weakest link. That was me.
Goodbye. That was such a wild day.
It used to be on YouTube, but it's not on there anymore.
I remember I was pulling answers out of my ass and getting them right. I remember that. I remember just being elephant and it was right.
Wow.
I remember that I won on this total lob that they asked me about some Robert De Niro. It was some Robert De Niro.
De Niro. It was about De Niro. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something about De Niro, and I was like, really? You guys really, So yeah.
No, yeah. You got asked about Robert De Niro, and I got asked about something about the Bible, and I was like, I don't know, Jesus, I don't know.
Wow, that is an episode we need to find.
The
that
wife of Jebediah in
yeah.
Wow,
really his middle name.
That's crazy.
We skipped. They were like, yeah, what's the guy who was in the movie you were in with him? His first name is Robert.
Exactly.
You talking to me?
Fantastic.
Exactly what it was.
Fantastic. We'll track that down. I know we had when we were doing all the episodes.
I forgot that though. I forgot that Savannah was there.
Who else was on that?
The
Who else was on
second
that
I
episode?
saw it all, I just suddenly remembered, holy shit, you did the Weakest Link.
Me and
Wow.
Coby and Anthony.
Ed was on it too. You were actually on it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you go, Ed? How'd you finish up?
You know what? It was a really, really weird experience because it's like the questions come around and all of a sudden all the lights are on and they're asking you a question and it's like so fast. You have to think, should I pass? Should I? It just happens so fast. It was really intimidating, but I don't know. I think it was somewhere in the middle.
That's not the Weakest Link, and it's not the
It
Weakest
was
Link.
hard. It was hard. It's a very weird scene. It's a very weird trip.
It's harder than it looks. Yeah.
I think that's one that I know when we
sweating so much, and I like for whatever reason the shirt that I was wearing was just like getting really stained, and they had to keep like blow drying my clothes to try to prevent the sweat stains from.
Wow.
Oh no.
It's very nerve-wracking, and the big catch of that show is that woman, I don't remember her name, was sort of like an attack dog. I mean, she sort of like came after you and tried to make fun of you and break you down and stuff. So that made it even worse. It was like, okay,
Goodbye.
lady.
You are the Weakest Link. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been trying to find that episode for a long time. So people listening, watching, if that's something anybody's got, by all means, send us in. We'd love to see that.
Keep it to yourself.
Yes.
Eddie B's I think it was that. What year was that? Did we do that? Do you guys remember?
I don't remember. Well,
I feel like it
was
must
while Savannah was on the show, so
I think it was after Davis and I got married, and we went to our honeymoon in Hawaii, and we bought these little wooden rings. So for the thing, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wear one of these rings on the Weakest Link just to kind of like honor the honeymoon and my wife and everything, and it wouldn't fit. And so I put it on my pinky, and when I remember walking in, and Ed, you were like, "You're a pinky ring guy now." I was like, "No, I'm not." I took it off. And I didn't.
Well, don't forget, I'm from Chicago. That means something very different in Chicago, especially if you're Italian.
Wow.
Good point.
But you say, hey, you saved my ass, man. I put it in my pocket and I wasn't seen on TV with the pinky ring. So thank you.
There you go. There you go. Darien, question to you again. Best fan interaction. Do you have like doctors coming up to you and saying like, oh, you said this wrong, or oh, good delivery of this line. I believed you.
No, not doctors necessarily, but I mean, it always surprises me when it happens, but I still get like first responders who are like, yeah, you're the doctor. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh. I didn't even know the show was still on until someone recently. I took my son to a open house at a fire station like a few blocks from here in Sherman Oaks, and one of the guys recognized me, and I thought he was going to recognize me from something else, and he was like, "Yeah, Third Watch," and I was like, "Third Watch?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
I was on that show.
So it's always like a surprise, but people, they're always like really warm, and the fans are genuine, and it's nice to meet anyone who like still cares about that show.
Get pestered by an Australian podcast host. Come on the show, man. Like, come on, what's going on?
Yeah.
But Tubi, isn't it, Ed? Is it on Tubi at the moment still? Is that
Roku?
It's on somewhere.
Roku, right?
It's on
Okay.
Roku.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad's been watching it on Roku or
that the whole show's even been available.
Yeah,
it was only the first 2 years they ever put out on DVD, and then a couple of years ago, someone on Twitter or whatever said to me they saw Third Watch. I'm like, where?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that it was on.
It's
So
one of these
news, CNN. shows them every once in a while.
They were marathoning.
Really?
Yeah, Headline News, HLN. Yeah, they'll show them. People text me all the time. Yeah.
They had it.
I know that there's a music rights problem sometimes. Like some of the music that we use, they have to rip out and replace.
Because we got a lot. We always get the questions. It's the DVD, 3 to 6. It's the common question in the community. But we actually got a few questions about some of the episodes that are streaming now don't have the original songs in it from the original airing, which it's very interesting about that. So, to kind of have that. We had it in Australia.
Choosing the song sucks at it.
Yeah. Which, going back to, we were talking about the closing narration that Skipp did, of course. And I wanted to mention that, or Guy, because I know, obviously, I'm not sure how involved in the music choices you were, but the beauty I love about the closing of it is the fact that the song used at the end, of course, Battersea by Hooverphonic, was the song used in the closing of the pilot. So I don't know if you guys were involved in that, or that was kind of just
the song. The music was written into the script, Ben. I mean, we chose the music along with the script. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. So
that's
Nickelback?
why I'm so disappointed in the choices that they're making now, because someone's just going, "Hey, this sounds good."
So you get to write in Nickelback for opening and but one of my favorite, the end of the season 6 premiere when Yoka shoots Gene Simmons, and you've got the "How the hell we wind up like this," epic, so good, Ed. I just want to thank you for that. That's so good.
Gene Simmons was hysterical.
Yeah. How do you even get
me sometimes?
How do you get Gene Simmons to play a villain into how does that even go about a conversation? Hey, Gene Simmons, come and play a villain.
It was Brooke Kennedy. Kennedy knew him from doing videos. When we were looking for a bad guy, she said, "What do you think of Gene Simmons?" I'm like, "Fucking A, yeah, it'd be perfect."
That's pretty epic. I mean, we talked about that from the 20th, a lot of the guest stars, of course. I actually just, in season 4, Sterling K. Brown is in it. And I'm like, he's now obviously an Academy Award nominee. And I'm watching, that's Sterling K. But there he is. I've completely forgot he's in Third Watch.
Boseman's first job was on Third Watch.
Yeah. It was in the scene with you, wasn't it, Bill?
First scene, yes.
Yeah. I think I worked out 3 future Academy Award winners.
Elizabeth Banks was the lieutenant's daughter.
Yeah,
that Bosco slept with in a squad car.
Yep.
So many people. Peter Dinklage.
He was so young.
Well, I think I worked out 3 future Academy Award winners, because you had J.K. Simmons in the first season, you had Viola Davis, you had Helen Mirren, all in it, went on to win Oscars, and then Sterling K. Brown nominated, Chadwick Boseman nominated. Skipp, I know you talked about 5 years ago getting to lay on top of Anne Margaret. You had Wycliffe Jean, obviously, in closing it out. So many people. Rosie O'Donnell had that random cameo as a paramedic. Eve being in the show.
Huge fan of the show.
Who's
Rosie
the one
O'Donnell played Lundy.
Yeah,
because we had a character in almost every episode leading up to that where they would just say, "Lundy, step on it," and we tend to have a Lundy. And then when she wanted to do the show, we're like, "Oh, we can make her Lundy."
Yep.
How about Mark Consuelos? Mark Consuelos, I remember I didn't get to direct him, but he came in an audition to play Daddy the Pimp, and he was great. And then a few seasons later, he played a detective. He was great. He was
the one actually,
the show.
One random one, Skipp, I just watched this episode, completely forget. Giancarlo Esposito was in an episode. You got to work alongside with him. Obviously, he's gone on to massive things. So,
man.
Completely forgot he was in Third Watch. The
list goes on and on. Who's the star of Glee? The Michelle.
Leah Michelle.
Yeah.
Leah Michelle.
She played a little. She was a little kid on the show.
Yeah, her sister went missing, and you were all searching for the kid across the city. You got to shoot Method Man. Was it Method Man you got to shoot?
Yeah,
Kobe?
And Redman. Method Man and Redman.
Yeah. The names go
they
on.
were together.
Yeah,
that was a Charlie.
Redman wasn't there. Redman wasn't there.
It was both of them.
No, it was just Method Man. I would remember that.
And was it the game? Was the game in it as well? Was he in it?
No.
Was I thinking the game? Yeah. There was music.
No,
Tretch. Okay.
Tretch, yeah.
There you go. See,
Tretch.
the list go on. This thing.
X gonna give it to you.
I just want to be involved in the casting room
DMX,
when you're able to get
DMX.
these. DMX, right?
DMX.
Yeah. When you're able to get these people on the show.
R.I.P. But he didn't know any of his words.
I just remember his wife yelling at him the whole time. Earl.
Well, actually, just on that too, like obviously, we don't have everybody, main cast, several cast members from over the years, but mainly Ed Guy. When you look at, we brought him up before, Bobby Cannavale, gone on to, amazing things, obviously, what we've seen, and some of the other actors that have started on Third Watch. Eddie went on to great things. I mean, so many people went on to great things, but does it kind of warm your heart a little bit when you sort of see them and they, probably got a bit of a break on Third Watch that you're able to see them go on to these great things?
Definitely
Absolutely.
for Bobby. Because definitely love to see Bobby go on to do other things. And I'm just excited to see anybody that was part of that family do other stuff. It's just, the thing I'm most happy about is that we're all still friends. 25 years later, that we all still love each other, and I think about you guys all the time.
That's what we like. Hopefully, all positive thoughts, at least.
I remember Bobby was like upset about like having seen a scene and he would shoot and then he couldn't go anywhere because they were shooting another scene, and he would come up and commiserate with me, like when I was in the director's prepping thing, in the office area, and I remember him saying to me, I got to get off the show. I got to leave. And I go, Bobby, it'll be the biggest mistake of your life. You can't leave the show, man. The same guys that were doing ER and West Wing. You can't leave. Anyway, that was my take on Bobby wanting to leave the show.
Gave him good professional advice there, Guy.
Your career will go down the toilet if you leave the show.
Go on to absolutely nothing. No one will know your name at all. 25 years later, you'll be like, Bobby Cannavale, who's that? Never heard of him. That's some random guy. I want to get to some listener questions before we close this out. And actually, sort of through organising this and arranging sort of people to come on the show, one of the people who sadly couldn't make it at the last minute, Amy Carlson, who we did have on this show a few years ago, but she sent us in a lovely little note. She said that Third Watch was a stellar cast and a formative experience. I still correspond with Beach and was so happy to see Yvonne and Anthony's daughter's Olympic journey. And she actually mentioned she's been working on a new show that's premiering on Apple called Firebug. She sent some pictures in and she's actually in firefighter uniform. So still playing the role of a firefighter. And she said, best wishes to all the Third Watch fans and family from me, warmly, Amy Carlson. So great to hear from Amy. Coby, you got to share some lovely scenes with Amy, of course. I still never forget the shower scene that you and Amy got to have when you guys are hooked up. Always a fun scene, I can imagine, to film.
Man, all those, it's just do nothing but push-ups the week before you got to do shit like that. That's all I remember.
It's like Lisa was saying with Beach, right?
But Amy was awesome to work with, man. I loved working with Amy.
Amy, and that was such a unique character to have, somebody being a paramedic and a firefighter. Ed, is that something that is in real life, or Bill, anybody can answer that who's sort of in that era? Can you be a paramedic and a firefighter? Is that possible?
In Chicago, all paramedics are firefighters. So that's another one of those Chicago things that.
There you go. I learned that. Bill, would you ever thought about taking the paramedics test so you can bring that to New York at all? Or
No.
Solid answer. Straight to the point. I like that. And Guy's brought in a dog. Coby's got dogs in the background too. So people who are listening to the audio, check out the video of this guy. Tell us about your puppy here. Who have we got?
This is my best friend in the world. This is Luna.
Oh, hello, Luna.
Yeah, he wants to go outside and go pee-pee, I could tell.
And Coby, who have we got in the background there?
This is High Top. She's you can only see her because she's a Great Dane, and she's
hence called High Top. That makes sense.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get her.
Yeah, Luna's the opposite of a high top. She's got short legs.
Oh wow. She's just loving life there on the rug. I like that. There you go. Fantastic. Some other listener questions that we got, and thanks to everybody who sent a lot of these ones in. One on Instagram here from Sean B. Plain. This one's for you, Skipp. When will your band be performing again next in New York?
Minus 10.
Yeah, minus 10.
Minus 10.
Minus 10. I always keep my effects close at hand. No plans right now. No plans right now, but we're still, writing music and stuff. Brian, the other half of Minus 10, is actually in Knoxville, Tennessee, doing a musical and playing guitar and banjo and mandolin and singing and stuff. A musical called Knoxville at a regional theater in Knoxville, Tennessee. So He's going to be coming back into town in October. We're going to keep working on new songs. Maybe in the new year, maybe in 2025, people might look for Minus 10. Keep an eye on our whatchamacallit. I don't know what the pages are, but social media. It'll show up somewhere on social media.
Great, fantastic. Definitely keep an eye on that one.
LA, I got a place for you to stay.
There you go. All right.
Look at that. The connection's going through there. One on Instagram as well from Trini Stylen. How do you feel about other knockoff shows trying to do what Third Watch did and so great? Now, Ed, I know we talked a little bit about this a few years ago. We talked about Ryan Murphy, 911, and that show. I think they're about to do a B attack of LA. Very realistic, of course. The one that I always question stealing storylines from, Blue Bloods. Now, I know it's a show about the NYPD. I get it. But every time I watch Blue Bloods, I'm thinking like, are they just stealing storylines from Third Watch? Third Watch did this. Third Watch did this. I don't know if any of these shows, Ed, that you kind of see about similar to Third Watch.
One of their executive producers is a Third Watch writer, so
that's there's your answer then. Thanks, Skipp.
The thing that not bugs me, but NBC basically now has 5 shows that are just all Third Watch. They took Third Watch and turned it into 5 different shows.
They just kind of have like Fire and what is it, MD and
Fire, Hospital,
PD, things like that. It's fascinating because like I watch Blue Bloods and I do watch 911 just because I'm a bit of a Ryan Murphy fanboy, but like it's so interesting to kind of see how over the top they go with that show. It's literally every season. Oh, we're trapped on a cruise ship now. We're going to do, the Poseidon adventure. Now they're about to do this B take. I mean, I know network television's changed a lot from when Third Watch was on air, but I mean, do you watch something like that, Ed and Guy, and go, well, we could have gone over the top with Third Watch. We could have had a B attack. We could have had an earthquake in New York City.
That goes back to what I was saying about our show was about how it feels to be them, not about the plots. We never thought like, what's the craziest fucking thing we can have these people do? Oh, sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
Fuck it, say it. This is an Australian show.
It was all about how it felt to be them. I never cared about, those kind of over the top sort of shows. But I think that's what people write when they don't really know what it's like to be a first responder.
And I find it like interesting too on that level as well, seeing like the beauty of Third Watch too is that New York was always a major character of the show, whereas something like 911, it uses LA as a backdrop, but you never feel like LA is really a character, whereas New York, I mean, part of the reason why I love New York so much is because I grew up watching Third Watch and I'm like, I love this city. So you integrated the setting much more than some of those other shows do.
I also love that we always just played whatever the weather was.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a rule on the show, if a plane flies over, look at it.
Yep. Right? And how many bike messengers would go through the shot, right? Like, and Coby, I've actually noticed there's a few scenes I've been watching recently, and there was I can't remember the episode, but you're walking down the street. I think it's a scene with Skipp, and you literally walk past like a street vendor or somebody on the street, and you kind of give him like a high five as you're walking past, and you just do that and just keep acting. So like it's things like that, which I'm assuming, I don't know if that's in the script or you're just like, this guy's in the background and you're just like, hey man, and just keep walking. Like it feels so natural.
There's also scenes where they start...
I can't. So go ahead, Ed.
No, that they get out of the car and it's raining, and it was sunny when they got in the car.
Yeah.
We just played whatever it was that day. Just go, okay, it's raining now.
It just works.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Ben. Yeah, New York was like like another character. You interacted with it.
Yeah, because I know I was in the season 1 DVD documentary where you guys are talking about the fact that like if a bike messenger, because it's New York, right? They're not going to go around the set. So they just like go straight through the set and just kind of keep on going and you just keep rolling with it. It's just, it's so fun. And I'm that fanboy who, when I'm in New York, I go to Queens, I go to the Firehouse. I need to go to where it was filmed. And Like literally there are moments when I'm walking around those parts of the city and I'm like, this is where they filmed it. Like you just feel the vibe and everything. I'll tell you, I've got a question here about the fan community, but I want to really geek myself out of being that one guy who's too obsessed with this show. The Crystal Method came to Sydney about a year ago and did a concert. And I literally went along just to see him perform Keep Hope Alive live. And then afterwards he did a meet and greet where it was like, hey, come along, get an autograph. So I went up to him, got his autograph, and I said to him like, I love you. I love your music. You did the Third Watch theme, Keep Hope Alive. It's fantastic. He looked at me and he goes, yeah, I did that show. I also did Bones. And then he just walked off. So he liked the fact that he did Bones more so than that his song got used for Third Watch. But I had to go see Keep Hope Alive perform live, and it was done pretty well. So, that's cool. The music, Ed. That's the beauty of the music kind of in the show. Last one I'll ask here. This one's here from Freaky Flop on Instagram. Love the username there. We sort of touched on this a little bit, but they say, how does it feel to know that there is still a living community rooting for the show after all these years? I might start with Ed as a co-creator of this show, that here we are 25 years later talking about it. We've got so many fans out there that are excited to listen and watch this. But I mean, how does that make you feel having created this show?
Yeah, it actually feels great, Ben. Especially like even you, just hearing from you every once in a while, it's just great to know. Because when you're doing a show like this, it's hard to know while you're in it that it's good. It's just so much work. 22 or 23 episodes a year is just so much work that it really feels nice this many years later to realize that it was good and that it touched people. And if I have a regret, it's that I didn't spend more time at the time appreciating how great an experience it was, because you're just trying to keep up. But yeah, I love that people still love Third Watch. Didn't we have Hacks Made that said it's my favorite show too?
What's that?
I think we did. Yeah, we had a hack that said it's my favorite show because people would come up and you go, "Oh my God, that's my favorite show. That's my favorite show." But yeah, it feels great. Yes, it feels great.
Guy, anything to add? Sort of.
No, I mean, we were talking about music earlier, and I remember the episode "Duty." Skipp, like a month before that episode, Skipp turned me on to this artist named Nick Drake. And it was a, singer-songwriter who, probably was a 27 club, like died way too young. So I got the script for Duty, and the last scene is Bobby Cannavale helping his terminally ill geometry teacher. And so we get in the editing room, and I remembered that song because, Skipp had given me the CD. And we threw it in there and we played it. I think we played it for Chris and Ed, and they were like, well, what's that song? I said, it's called Road by Nick Drake. And so we went and got the rights to it. I couldn't believe it. It's in the movie. It's in the show. I hope it's in the, the streaming version too. But that was like the kind of thing where, music, I was so inspired by New York and by my, every element came into the show. We, at least for me, I ate, drank, and slept that show. And so that's another just great memory of there you go. That's my good fond memory.
I love hearing this. I think we need to do a whole episode on the musical, because I've got playlists galore on my iTunes of just all the songs from Third Watch, which I mean I hear to this day and just can't not think of the show and everything along those lines. I'll go around the room sort of and thank you all individually and everything, and sort of close this out. By all means, feel free, anybody, to jump in with any other memories or anything off base of that question. I'll start with Bill. I'm going to go in order of what I'm seeing on my screen here right now. But Bill, it's always a pleasure to get you on this show and to be able to share memories and reminisce and get you involved with everybody else here. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time on Third Watch. And anything else you want to add before we sort of hang around the room and close it off for everybody else here?
Well, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate all you guys. It was quite an experience. Ed, when you, in the last episode, when you were up, you're on film taking down the Camelot sign inside of the police station. I was actually stealing the firehouse sign on the firehouse set.
I still have that sign. I have the one for the police station. Yeah.
I sent it to you after a number of years, but I had it hostage for a while. It's a great opportunity. It was quite, you have to realize that, I have to realize that it's such a strange dichotomy to go from, because I never, ever, ever thought of ever doing any kind of acting or anything like that. So one day I'm standing in front of Ed, Chris Chulak, John Wells, Brooke Kennedy, and then the next day I'm on TV. And most firemen that I meet now today say that I was their inspiration for taking the job. So I want to thank you guys for putting that out there.
That's cool.
And
That's cool.
I love you all. And what a great experience. You did it right. And that's all I have to say.
Is that where we say in your face DK, that they go to you and not DK for that? Or, you know. That works. Skipp, it's always a pleasure, Skipp, to have you on here and to sort of learn and hear your stories as well. And so many people obviously fondly remember Sully, often referred to as the narrator of the show, kind of from the very beginning to the very end. But it's always a pleasure to hear from you and have you join in here and celebrate a show that obviously forms such a key part of your life as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's as Ed was saying, and Billy too, as everybody says, it's our business is so random and so weird. And, you get brought in like guys talking about, being jobbing in on stuff and being the guest director. So many gigs are just that, they're gigs. You roll in, you do your work, and then you hang up your spurs on that one, you move down the road. Third Watch was like this sort of amazing thing that happened, that had its own life, its own chemistry. All of us were always encouraged. I know I can speak for other people because I witnessed it in real time. We were all encouraged as directors and writers and designers and producers and firefighters and real cops and, the people that we lost on 9/11, people that were on the job that we lost at 9/11 that we still remember and celebrate to this day, that were part of the family of the show. We were all encouraged to bring ourselves into the show. And I think it connects right back to what Ed was talking about how it felt to be those people. And so everybody from the writers to the directors, the camera people, I always talked about our crew as being a bunch of pirates, right? Because like what Guy and Ed were talking about we shot any weather, we shot wherever the fuck we were. If a train was going by overhead, Chulak Guy, they would say, talk louder, fuck it. We want us to wait for the fucking train. Talk louder, talk over it. So you learn, talk about the city being a character. We were characters in the city and we were bringing our characters in the city to the character of the show. And so it was a kind of miraculous thing. And I think that's one of the things that gives it these legs, to walk 25 years down the road and still have people looking at it and seeing how really unique it is, especially in the landscape of what television is today. Yeah. What primetime television has become, it was amazing. I mean, when you start to talk about director speak and stuff, how many setups you do a day and stuff like that. I mean, Guy and Ed can speak to this. It was, we were doing fucking feature film shit, man, every day, every single day. And just, it didn't matter if it was snowing or raining or sleeting or burning hot or whatever the hell it was. The pirates were there and they were like, yeah, let's go. And everybody just threw in. They stole all our shit. I mean, they took our shit. I think it was actually an inside job, but they took our shit and tried to negotiate with it, so that just so many stories. So we're just
Dude, they stole the cop car. Remember they stole the cop car?
Yeah, they stole a cop car.
Who are they? Who are they stole a cop car?
I didn't want to interrupt Skipper, but Skipper and I were supposed to drive up to this scene and then get out and do whatever it was we were doing. And then right when we were getting ready to do it, they're like, where the fuck did the cop car go? And somebody stole the cop car.
Somebody walked up to set and stole it.
Wow.
So the stories are legion, and we're just so grateful. I mean, I'm so grateful, and I know I speak for everybody when I say we're just so grateful that people see the value in the show and that they still love it and we still love it. And we'll be here for, the 30th anniversary. Don't lose any more weight though, because, you're really starting to fade away.
I'll try my best.
I can lose some, but you can't lose any more.
There's a book. I think what you guys need to do, you need to do what Eric McCormick and Sean Hayes are doing, where they're doing a podcast where they go over every single episode of Will and Grace from the beginning. There's some legs in it there, guys. If all of a sudden, Coby, Skipp, Bill, Darren, Savannah get together, do a sort of a rewatch there every single episode and give these stories. We want to learn about the cop cars getting stolen and all that kind of stuff. So, epic.
I think we'd have to watch them all to refresh our memory first, because a lot of this is like, yo.
That's why we come to you every 5 years, Coby, so we can be like, hey, Coby, remember that show you did? Oh, I remember it, Ben. Good job. That's right. Was I a police officer?
I remember. I remember what. I guess I don't know. It's not my turn yet, so I'll wait.
No, well, you're talking now, Darren. I'm going to skip over you just for a second because he's interrupted. God, he's so rude, isn't he, Coby? Just go ahead, Coby. It's fine. You talk. Go for it.
Well, I was 23 years old when I booked that show, so it was such a huge. The whole experience was such a huge influence on who I sort of, became as an adult, and who I became as a professional going on into the rest of my career. It kind of set the bar, and the bar was high because the writing was so good. We all had such respect for each other. We all had such respect for the words and respect for the work that we really, you really showed the fuck up. Like you came ready to go. And not until after third watch did I show up on sets where I'm like, what are these clowns doing? They're not, like not everybody, but certain people just, not coming ready to go. Not respecting the work and not respecting the gift you've been given to be on a TV show telling these stories. So I just have such great lifelong memories, lifelong friends. Like I said, Skipp and I are literally brothers at this point. It's just, I'm getting a little emotional. It was just, I can't thank Ed, Chris, and John enough for letting me be a part of that.
We wouldn't be a good episode if none of you didn't cry. You. So, we're glad to get some emotion at the end there.
I can't believe I'm seeing Savannah. Amazing.
I know.
You're gay.
It's really amazing.
You're gay.
It's so fun to hear you.
Why'd you kill my son? Like I feel we need. I bring some lines.
You're going to kill Sergey.
Do you like sex, John?
John? Do you like sex, John? My mother actually reacted to that. She was like, why is there, who is that Russian girl? It's not she's like, are you going to date her? Are you dating her?
You're giving me all these ideas for the 30th.
That's not what's happening.
30th.
My mother would watch.
Savannah, how old were you when you were?
I just did the math because you said that. Yeah, I was 24.
Wow.
The level of shit you were doing, both of you two, Darien, like it's not easy to be a guest star, come in and just crush. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what you guys did, episode after episode. And like Darien, all those you're talking about those medical, bullets you had to give. That's one of the hardest things to do in acting, as far as I'm concerned, because that shit is like math and it's not fun at all.
Yeah.
To make it sing and seem effortless is high level shit, man. So, but yeah, both you guys,
amazing.
Did you, Darren?
Cross check.
Can I ask quickly, Darren? Did you ever do like what they used to do in ER and like write some of your like terms on like medical equipment to kind of cheat and things like that at all?
No, I don't think I really had that option because we were always moving. Like Fields was always like rolling somebody in, and there was always stuff flying all over the place. So I had to just put it in my head. So I was just really happy to be there and that they were bringing me back for another episode. So, but it was like my second job. It was like my second real job in the business. So I was still gullible enough to believe like, oh, if I just say the lines, it'll just work out, right? And so there wasn't a lot of pressure. And, I'm really thankful that Ed and Chris and John and Brooke and were really nice to me. And Guy was like the first director that I ever really got to talk to, because everyone else would just be like, stand here and do that thing. But, no way. No way. Yeah.
Hi.
The first
supervisor.
We've got someone else joining here.
Hi, just getting home.
Hello.
Guess what show? She got home. Just got home from work. Guess what show she's doing?
Got to tell us now.
Chicago PD.
Oh my God.
We were just talking about that.
Wow. Is this we ask Ed about that again, about all these shows, or?
Well,
Good
NBC's basically has 5 different third watches. There's Ed.
I know Ed, Skipp.
Coby.
Coby. Oh my God.
Billy Walsh.
I'm a nobody. I'm just the host. I'll just stand in the background here.
Ben.
It's fine.
Hi.
Hello.
Remember Darien and Savannah?
Wow. Holy cow.
We've got the reunion going full tilt here.
What are you guys doing?
25th anniversary of Third Watch.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary indeed.
You should be
supervisor. For those who don't know, it's the first few seasons, this pilot in the first few seasons.
Guy, why isn't she in this whole episode? What's going on here?
I didn't expect her home. She had like a 1:30 call, but they had a short day, so.
Yeah, because they had night. We were at night, along a river in a filthy area of town, in a filthy river, and muddy, and we made rain. It was rain every day.
Wow. The magic of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I was expecting her home.
Guy, the 3 of us, me, you, and Skipp, got in that river.
Oh God,
we sure did.
Yeah, with the underwater housing.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Harvey, Illinois.
Well, we're wrapping it up here, but we're really appreciative of everybody joining us here and kind of sharing these stories. So, Darien, thank you for your words. Savannah, I was going to throw to you there too to thank you very much, because I love hearing. Excuse me, I'm not getting emotional. I've had bronchitis for the last 2 weeks, by the way. So,
oh no,
I'm just slowly choking up. Savannah, please. Thank you for joining us, and we definitely really appreciate you sharing some of those memories here today as well.
Thank you for having me. It's so fun to hear all of you guys and just see you all and think of you all having a good time together. And that was quite a moment. And I left the industry 15 years ago. So this is definitely another universe.
I hope this hasn't been like a deep dark thing going back into the psyche of I've left it, now you're bringing up these memories. So I hope I hope they've been good memories at least, Savannah. But
not at all.
It's actually, I will tell the story quickly about how we sort of, I think, even interacted, because you and I have been talking on and off a few years. Yeah. And I think that honestly, I can't remember how I found your email address, but it was one of these ones on a Women of Prayer where you go, that might be them, so I'll send them an email. And when you responded to me and you were like, yeah, that was me, I was on Third Watch, it's kind of like this, wow, awesome, this is a great moment. So I appreciate the fact that we've been able to actually talk finally, Savannah, and you've come on the show. So from me, thank you.
Thank you for, I think you've been emailing me for years, and I'm
a pest. Ask any of these guys in this show, I won't leave them alone. It's we get it, Ben. You like Third Watch, leave us alone, all right? We've done a few of this is why, Amy didn't show up, or Jason. They just leave me alone, all right? We don't want you to talk to us. Guy and Ed, obviously I had you guys sort of talk about the fans bit there and everything, but I'll close out with both of you there as well. But bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your time and everything that you've done with us here on the show over the years, and obviously for creating Third Watch, Ed, for being half of the brains behind the show, and Guy for all your involvement. I mean, I think I speak on behalf of all the fan community that we've loved this show for 25 years, and we'll continue on loving it for the remaining 25 years, because when we get sick of the crap that's on TV now, what are we going to watch? Our favorite TV shows. So, thank you for that, and thank you for joining us on the show today as well.
And Ben,
thanks, man.
Thanks for doing this, Ben.
I'm eternally grateful to you, Ben, for doing this, because it's because of you we had a 20th reunion, and because of you we had a 25th reunion. So I really appreciate that you keep bringing us back together,
pestering you,
an amazing time.
Well, it's an absolute honor to be able to keep it alive and to be able to kind of do this, keep hope alive. Am I meant to be tying that in with that? But obviously, happy 25th to everybody. And Skipp, I'm going to give you the honor of closing this out because I want you to close it out on Sully's most iconic line, and that's the last word I want to hear on this. So can I throw it to you to close it out with a bit of the C word?
Crap.